to Vollrath University, everybody. Today we're going to go through some of our product line, new countertop equipment redesigned in some cases. We've updated some of the features of them. So we just want to make sure everyone's aware of some of the new products that we have that are upgraded products, I should say. Let's start with countertop fryers. Okay, first of all, as a blanket statement, I understand these are not like going to be the big back of house, heavy duty, busy, high volume fryers, but they have their place. They have their place in a lot of ways. If anybody's been to Vollrath University, you know, I always talk about like catering to people with allergies because of, you know, the gluten, and you can't guarantee that even French fries are gluten-free if you're frying in oil that had previously been used for a breaded product. So that's why these are a great item to bring to an operator as a new idea, a new way to help them retain and gain some business, especially focusing on these people with gluten allergies. And I can tell you, I have personal friends that are have gluten intolerance, and they know the places that cater to them. And when we go out to eat, they are championing for those places. So they have their place. Also keeping fresh foods, delicate foods, flavors from transferring. There's also a lot of good reasons there for these fryers. So we have a 10-pound fryer and a 15-pound fryer. 10-pound fryers are just as they say, 10 pounds of fat, which would be in a solid block form. That's how that used to be sold and measured. 15 is 15. And the whole idea is just thermal mass. So the more thermal mass you have, the more ability you have to absorb the cold. If I take a 10-pound fryer full of oil and I put in basically 2 French fry baskets frozen, that's going to pull all the heat out of my oil and I'm not frying anymore. 15-pound fryer, you have a little more volume. So what I always tell people is on a 10-pound fryer, we're looking at fresh product, something that's or smaller portions. Whereas a 15-pound fryer, now we can do just little larger portions. So we've upgraded the line. We've done some work on the head assembly. What's nice about the head assembly now is it has a power button that will illuminate, and then a ready light when the grease is at the temperature that you have it set for. Thermostatically controlled, of course. The heads are removable. These come in a single countertop, 120 volt at 1800 watts. They also now come in a different configuration of 120 volt. I'm sorry, at 208 through 240 volt at 2700 watts to 3600 watts. So we put a lot of power into a small fryer. What we've done is essentially just maximize the circuit, giving as much power as we possibly can, which will help with that recovery time. So between loads, or even when you put something in and the unit senses the temperature is dropping, it's going to recover much faster at that 2700, 3600 watt range. So that's a nice feature to have on a small fryer, to have that much power. Now, one note, we do offer these in duals as well, where they're essentially a side by side. When you have a dual, each head assembly does have its own power cord. So as you look at the spec sheet, you see what the power requirements are. Understand that on a dual fryer, that's 2 power cords. 15-pound fryer, this one's nice also because it has a drain. It's easier to clean at the end of the night. The 10-pound fryer just has the lift out basket with the handles to lift out the 8-inch deep half-size food pan. Essentially is what that is. The 15-pound, we have a nice valve. 15-pound fryer, same features on the head assembly. Now with the 15-pound fryer, we did some more work again with wattage. We're at 2700 to 3000 watts here on this unit, so we got a lot of power again available. Also dual units, single and dual fryers. We do make these in Canadian versions as well. If you have anything that you need for that, just note on the spec sheet you see a C that tells us it's Canadian version. Next up, this is an exciting new product we have. It's our Flex Vent. We had a downdraft vent system that was with 2 induction hobs. Now we've taken the downdraft vent technology and given you the flexibility to put product on the shelf. As you can see, the shelf has 3 different settings for height. And really the parameters for everything that goes on this unit are very simple. So if you look at the unit, this opening, the top of the cooking vessel, the kettle or the pot or the fryer. So for example, if I take my 15-pound fryer, put it on this unit, top of the cooking vessel really needs to be below this. This is an approved unit. We have on our website all of our Vollrath approved product, but it doesn't have to be just Vollrath product. It can be other manufacturers' product as well. that is approved for use on this unit. So again, the parameters: the height of the cooking vessel, the top of the side, and then the total wattage of electrical products only, no gas products, in the area must not exceed 7,200 watts total. It can be griddles as well. Now, if you use a griddle, the limited high wattage is 3,600 watts. So it's actually more affluent from a griddle potentially than it is from a deep fryer, which kind of amazed me personally. So this fryer is, as I said, approved. So you have the ability to do fryers, griddles, induction ranges, woks, anything that can fit on the shelf with the parameters of the top of the cooking surface here, and then 7,200 watts total works. We're talking about the wattage. All the items that you choose to have this here, this is a UL recognized product. So you will spec out which electrical components you want to have installed, which receptacles, and then everything runs through a junction box. The junction box is there so that if the unit trips and senses a fire, it cuts power to all the appliances. If you haven't seen these before, the analogy that we're using here is a simple screen, primary filtration, exactly like you'd see under a typical Type 1 hood. And then behind that, we have, excuse me, a particulate filter. So we have a fine particulate filter with carbon, helping to eliminate some of the odors, and also then the very, very fine particulate that comes off of the equipment as you're using it. These two systems eliminate almost, I mean, you can't say all, but almost all the grease that comes off the product. It is amazing how little grease gets through this system. We always joke that if we actually knew the test requirements to meet, we probably wouldn't have started the project, because it almost sounds impossible. So don't be afraid. Recommend these in places that people run a house. You know, both of our downdraft venting units have the same technology. This is, as I said, a recognized product, but does require some installation parameters. And one of them is 96-inch high ceiling. You do not need, for this unit, a containment system. So we don't have any type of hood over it, any kind of containment for the fluid or for the flame if it should catch fire. That's why we need a 96 high ceiling. People have asked, could they raise this so the working height of the unit is now at more of a counter height? Yes, but understand that pushes your 96-inch high ceiling higher as well. So it's really on the installer and fabricator to follow the proper installation requirements for the unit. Type 1 hood. So it's just like a Type 1. Underneath is where the fire suppression system is. That's a mistake. Sometimes people assume as they've got some spacing underneath the unit for storage or refrigeration. You do not. Just be aware the unit doesn't come with the wheels like you're showing it here. This is just so I can move it around. It is a UL recognized component. We have a very robust manual. It'll show a lot of the installation parameters and requirements for this unit. Okay, I hope that answered that question. Let's move on again, because I know it does run a little loud, and it continues to run for 30 seconds after we shut it down. So let's move on and we'll come back. Okay, paninis. We redesigned our panini makers. It's not anything overly exciting. What we did though is, again, the power switch mentality. We turned the power switch and the ready light so that the unit will cycle the ready light on when it's at temperature. And here's your power indicator. Cast iron. We've eliminated our smaller line of aluminum paninis. So we have a single and a dual in ribbed, single and a dual in flat, no combinations. Thermostatically controlled. Again, the ready light is nice so you know when the unit gets up to temperature. So we do then have a larger version now, though we kept our largest version of the panini in aluminum. The reason we like aluminum is because we can get this kind of surface area on your standard 120 volt, 1800 watts. So we have on the cast iron as well. So you see how much smaller that has to be, because cast iron doesn't distribute that heat. With aluminum, we take advantage of it. So here, this is a 120 volt, 1800 watt unit, top, bottom aluminum, unseasoned when we get it. So you have to season that. But this is something that's really nice just for quesadillas, cooking naan, larger toasted sandwiches. It's used in many ways. I've seen it for primary cooking of meats. One of the things that I've heard from some of our attendees at Vollrath University that they really appreciate on these designs is this tube, this stainless tube that we have our wiring in. You can see the tube moves as I close the cover and open, protecting the wires. They say that this is a point of weakness in some designs. So this stainless tube they identified as a nice advantage for the Vollrath line. So just something here just to show a couple of redesign features that we did on our panini line. We're here to talk about a couple of warmers. We came out with a new half-size long warmer. This is 500 watts, thermostatically controlled, able to handle 6-inch deep, 8-inch deep pans, water-based, traditional style heating underneath. Again, the power switch on the front. Now with this style unit, it's taking advantage of half size or quarter size pans, 6th size pans that you see in here. And we also have the Vollrath 8th size pan that is able to be used in this unit. This is not, you cannot use 9th size pans in here. So you have to think of this as half of a 12 by 20. So we have our 8th size pans, which we can put 4 in. So if this is used for something like toppings that's 10 minutes to keep warm, or a prep station of some sort, you can go down to an 8th size pan if you'd like, or you could use a 3rd and a 6th. That also works, but just have to think about the increments and how this unit works. Simple design.
Yeah, before we move on from that one, Chef, I just want to point out, this is my favorite thing to say here is everybody's got about 8 inches as counter space, but not too many people have what you need to do a full-size warmer. If you've ever been into a restaurant, into a kitchen where they've got a 6th size pan sitting on the griddle, this is the perfect item to help them save that griddle space and also get them to be effective in their kitchen.
Great points. One more point I will make on this. It does have a low water indicator, so that if it does run low on water, the light comes on. That's always helpful in a kitchen. At least you have some identifying way of, from the outside, seeing that the water is getting low, so that we don't completely evaporate it and food quality suffers. We're getting into soup season, and I'm just going to reiterate one of our products that I think is absolutely top of the list, and one of my favorite products is our induction soups. I think they're a great product. They save a ton of money for the operator because they don't degrade the product. They get much higher product yields with this design versus traditional steam or dry in a soup well. The reason that they do such a good job is because we're taking the induction technology. I'm sorry, this one's a little beat up, but we can see we're heating with induction on the bottom and around the sides of the inset. So we have our induction inset. We're heating from the sides and the bottom, much more even heat. Just a better way to heat. No waste, no water needed in the unit to clean up at the end of the day or preheat times. Simply place the product, either refrigerated cooked product, or it can be warmer, just placing hot product in the unit, turning the unit on. Very simple operation. Tells you what mode you're in here. We're in the warming mode now. We can adjust this by degree. Temperature, dial it right in. We hit our function button again. We can go to Celsius. Hit it again. We have 4 food types: chili, mac and cheese, cream soups, and soups. So for an operator that really just wants simplicity, he's going to tell his staff, look, this is the 4 types of product on this thing, and I want each type of product we're going to put in there in one of these 4. Easy, rather than individual temperatures. That's one way to do it. We also have a retherm mode on here. So when we're in the retherm mode, what's nice about this is that cold cooked product that we're going to take out of the cooler. We're going to put it in the unit. We're going to hit the retherm button. Now notice this is not adjustable. Retherm takes place at 165 within 90 minutes without stirring is the NSF test. We comply, obviously, but I can tell you that if the operator stirs the product, it's going to go much faster and food quality is going to be much better. But it does allow the operator to take cold product, put it in there, and rethermalize it. Once it reaches 165, the unit will hold that product. I think it's for like a minute or 2, and then it drops that temperature to the preset warming temperature that you started out with here. So in this case, it would be 147. We make this in a 7 and 11 quart on the counter. We also make drop-ins. If you're doing a drop-in, a real advantage that we have in this technology is that it is a lower wattage units. You can drop this into a counter and have a 120 volt, 15 amp power cord powering like 6 soup pots, and have a wheel-in station for soup season, and then be able to remove it after soup season. Champ product. I really, really love it. 2 colors, red and natural aluminum. Been in our line for a while, but that's worth a reminder, especially as we're heading into that, as I said, soup season. Our 4 series induction. I know we're probably getting a little tighter. I'm not sure on time or how we're doing, but I really want to hit this line and make sure that we are, everyone's understanding the advantages that we have in the 4 series line.
No need to rush, Chef. You're good.
Okay.
Okay.
So one of the advantages in this line is the technology that we've put into it. We didn't just rebrand this and make it look different. This is truly a redesign of the technology. So Vollrath has always had a good line of induction units. We have bragged about our low end control and just the breadth of line, the durability of our line, the range of power. We have truly low end power and that truly high end power. So we kept a lot of those parameters that we've always had. But with this line, we've added a couple of really neat features. What we tried to do is, people love gas cooking. We tried to get as close to gas as we could with the features, but exceeding gas in ways like control and repeatability. So we have built those into this line. One of the real features that I like as far as talking to chefs about is the low end control we have. On a gas flame, you can only go so low. It's not even below probably 150. If you just have even the smallest flame it'll maintain, that you can have a pot of water or something simmering. We can go down to 80 degrees with these units. And the way we go to 80 degrees is steady, just like gas. When you turn a gas flame down, it's steady and it's on all the time. The competitors in this line of induction will spike. So they'll turn it on and then turn it off, much like an infinite control. So we're trying to average warm and hot, on and off. To show you that, I have a meter hooked up here. So I'll plug in one of our competitors. This unit has 1 to 20 power level settings. So if I turn it on number 1, that's probably equal to number 5 on our 100 power level settings. But you can see what it's doing here. It's pulsing it on and off very quickly to try to maintain this low power. If I turn that up, this power level 2, see it's just turning on and off, trying to find what you're going to define as low power. If I look now at the Vollrath unit, we have 100 power level settings. So power level of number 5, okay, would be steady. Notice it's steady. If I turn this up, and equaling low power on this unit, you can just see how the needle holds steady no matter where we go. Turning up our power, it's holding steady. What that's saying is it's supplying truly even low temperatures. So I can tell you from personal use, I like to make candied almonds or pecans. And I've got a buddy of mine who does maple syrup. And we all talk about how nice this unit is, especially at that low temp that you're not cycling. It is truly like a steady gas flame on very, very, very low. So you can simmer that product, because every time it goes on and then off, it cools. It cools on the off, and then you end up with just a not even, in my case with the sugars, it gets chunky and just doesn't look as nice. It takes longer to cook. My friend with his, again with the maple syrup, he says this unit works much, much faster because we have that steady heat versus that cycling. Pastry chefs are a good target with this technology. They will love it because it gives them that steady control they're very familiar with. Okay, so that is the feature of low power. Some other features that we've added into these units. We have 120 volt 2 units. This one is a dial control. This is more the entry. We try to keep the price point a little bit lower. Dial control, people are very familiar with how that works. 1 to 100 settings, temperature, Fahrenheit, Celsius. We have 4 programming modes, pretty standard stuff. So this unit now is the dial control, which has all the features we just talked about in this line. I'm going to switch these 2 around. So this is a slide control. I tried to make sure I heard slide control, I was not particularly pleased. I don't like problems like in the kitchen. And I made sure I said, look, this has got to work with a glove. It's got to work with oil. It's got to work with whatever I've got on my finger. And I think our team did a nice job here with a very responsive slide control technology. With this on a 120 volt, 1800 watt unit now, we do have a temperature probe that can be used, which obviously sensing the product in the pot is much better than sensing temperature through the bottom, which is how this unit would do it, or this unit does it without the probe. But adding in the probe just gives us better sensing of the product. The bottom sensor is still working. So it's still sensing through the top of the unit and the bottom of the pan, but adding this in just gives it much better control. Now, some features though, because we're sensing both points, we can see differentiation between the 2 points, a delta or a difference in temperature between the 2 points. So that's handy in a sense of, say, a pastry chef, where they're trying to cook something at a very low temperature and they put some product in there, and if the unit knows it's supposed to be at a low temperature, it's not going to turn on high and potentially burn the product or overshoot the temperature. So it's going to monitor those 2 points, because the bottom of the pan is going to get hot much faster than the product in the pan. So it monitors those 2 points and knows if we're at low temperature not to overshoot or exceed that temperature of low temperature products. Now, on the other side of that, in deep fry mode, let's say, not a mode on here, but if someone wanted to deep fry, we sense those temperatures and we know we're at high temperature. And if we put product in the pan and the temperature in the pan where the probe is sensing it drops, but yet we still maintain high temperature on the bottom, the unit can say, hey, we got to kick in high power all the way till we get back to that point, kind of recovery mode. So we've got some technology, some logic built into the unit with temperature probes and then the base unit itself. On these units, we do offer also, it's called an expanded field technology. So one of the things that chefs like to do is on a gas stove, we'll start something, browning it, and we can baste it so that we're finishing the product. And with induction in the past, when you would tip the product, you break this field and you would not be cooking. So you'd have to put it down in heat, or you'd have to try to somehow use the product in the pan. But with gas, as we lift it up off the flame or tip it, we're still getting heat from the gas. And so what we have here is an expanded field. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm actually just hovering over the top of the unit to give you that sense. I can put it back down and tip this pan and continue to connect. And I can baste. I can tip the pan and baste the product. Yesterday. So cool that grease on the end of the product and baste. 4 power mode, different power modes, Fahrenheit or temperature with Fahrenheit, power level, Celsius. So 4 temperature modes. Also menu. We have 4 menu options. With this unit, there is a USB connection, and that is over on the side. Kathy, do you want to move the side, come over here? USB is in this area. Hard to get my hands in there. This is the USB chip. This is something that you just simply put in a computer, and Adobe will open up a menu. In the menu, there are 3 steps that you can program in. So thinking about a simple recipe, say rice. Step 1 would be take the product, bring it up to boil. The next step, simmer, lower the temperature to simmer for 20 minutes or however long the rice takes. Next step, shut the unit off. So there's things we can do with recipe development. And where this is helpful is thinking about operators right now in kitchens having to work with lower skilled help. So the more we can do to them, for them, and give them pieces of equipment that help with things to be consistent. Cooking is time and temperature. We can control both of those very evenly and precisely. We can get repeatable results. With induction, we can do that. We know time, and we can control power or temperature very accurately. So in the case again of this rice, or some simple demonstration with a recipe, we can help an operator achieve consistent results. So the features then on a 120 volt, 1800 watts dial only, no probe, no programmable feature. The next level with the slide, 1800 watts again, with the probe that plugs in the side, and then also the ability to program up to 4 program settings. And then we have our larger units, which are just more powerful. And that's always the question sometimes people ask me is, when do we need to go to the bigger units? It's simple. It's just simply volume or capacity. So when you need more than a couple of portions, I always say on this unit, we need to go to the bigger unit. So one of the things you'll see also in our literature is a maximum pan diameter for these units. And I will say that, some of them are 12 inches, and you can see here a 12-inch is really much larger. I mean, it's edge to edge on here. The reason that we give you a limit on the pan size isn't as much about the field of the induction. It's more about the expectations and, quite frankly, the weight of the product sometimes. So we limit the expectation or limit the volume of product that can be placed on this by limiting the diameter of the pan. We just know that we're not going to make a pan that only has a 12-inch diameter and it's this tall. So we understand that a 12-inch diameter pan is probably going to be limited to a certain size pot, which this unit can handle. So the question then comes up, can it be a bigger diameter pot, say a brazier? Yes, it can be, understanding that just like a gas flame, we're going to heat only where our coils are on the bottom. We're going to rely on the pan, or if it's got a nice aluminum bottom, the material to help direct the heat outward, or it's just going to be the liquid. So when you're simmering in a braise, we're not using that much liquid, so we can go a little bit bigger and still have great results here. We still can go, and we use a bigger unit, has a bigger diameter bottom on it on our larger units to give you a little more capacity, but still you can exceed past that limit as long as you understand that we're not filling up a stock pot. We're probably using a braise or smaller amounts of product. So it's just about really the expectations. There's no problem exceeding the diameter on this unit for any reason other than expectations. Okay, one other point. Oh, I was talking about, again, the size diameters of the pan. The only time that I find that it's really important to stick to that diameter is when we have a dual unit front to back or left to right in some of our other lines. We don't currently have that available here, but that would be the only time where we would not allow a larger diameter pan, because you would potentially get into the field of the other coil, and I guess that could be an issue. So pan diameter is just one thing I wanted to make sure we covered. With the large unit, again, the probe and the programming features, very much the same. We don't offer this in a slide. This one, it is only the dial unit, but this comes in 3 wattages, 2600, 3000, and 3800 watts. So very, very powerful, more of a back of house style power. When we say back of house, this being this size and capacity, it's probably where that fits. But a nice feature of the 2 120 volt units are that even in the front of house, if it's for an omelet station or pasta station out front, this would be your guest side view. So it's got a nice view from the guest side. It doesn't have the back screen or the backside look of some units. The technology that we have in this, we've redesigned the circuit board. Vollrath, we bought a company that we had partnered with originally to get into induction. So we own the factory in China that we build these units in. We also design our own power boards. So that's a real separation between us and some of our competitors, in that we have the design. We manufacture our product in our factories. So these are things that we build and control the quality of ourselves. The processor, as I mentioned, we've redesigned the entire board. It has something, it's a patented technology that we have in the 4 Series called resonance track control. What that does is it looks at the power supply, it looks at the piece of cookware. We maximize the results that we can get out of both of those. Just trying to make sure that we're not leaving something power on the table, so to speak. that we're always trying to maximize what we can get out of it. Better cookware, better results. So that's one of the key things that we've done. The other key thing that these units have is they have a better way that we cool the board. We have less power being generated on our circuit board. Therefore, we have less requirements for cooling. We have lower airflow. Lower airflow through the unit means we're sucking in less grease and moisture, humidity from the kitchen. So we're increasing the durability and longevity of the product. Also, our boards are sprayed with a coating that if chemicals or something does happen to get in there, it won't damage the board as easily. So a lot of things we did with airflow, just minimizing the amount of airflow required. You can see we really don't have a lot of requirements for airflow in our units because of the way we redesigned that board. They are 93% efficient. That's another factor in that design of that circuit board and the way we cool. A lot of our competitors, the better competitors, maybe not so much, but some of the lower end competitors, you will find a huge difference in the wattage and the output because they're just not as efficient. The switching technology inside of them, 75% efficient versus 93% efficient, and you just get less results. Make sure when you're comparing apples to apples that we understand the units, its efficiency ratings, and then also on the low end, say of 120 volts, make sure that people aren't using a UL residential product versus a UL commercial product. That's something we saw for years, that people were saying, hey, I've got this little induction range and it happened to be actually rated for residential use, not for commercial use. So just a couple of notes there on apples to apples. Any
3
more
minutes,
questions?
Chef.
Yes.
3 minutes.
Oh, okay, let's get on to this unit then. I wanted to run this unit just so you can see how the technology works. If it's a little loud here, we'll try to work through it. Basically, we're going to turn the unit on. Understanding this noise, we are in a large room, no cabinetry whatsoever on the unit, so it's probably going to be a little loud. Turn the unit on. It's warming up, so to speak. The fans are getting up to speed, starting to draw. It does have that negative pressure, as I said. So just kicked off the negative pressure, so it knew that either our filter so it's kicked off because of that negative pressure. So the only way to take care of that, we have to reset the unit. Going to run for a little bit here to make sure we're exhausting anything that might be in it. I think that's about 30 seconds that it continues to run.
Hey, Chef, when you have a minute here too, let's head over and see the charbroilers and griddles too. We want to make sure we get those shown.
Oh, okay. As we're waiting for that to, oh, there it went. Go over here, Kathy. If we have 1 minute yet, we're going to talk about a few things. We redesigned our gas line of equipment. So here you can see our gas line redesign, heavy duty griddles, charbroilers, 24-inch deep cooking surfaces, 40,000 BTUs per 12-inch zone on the heavy duty. Also, our medium duty charbroilers are very powerful as well. They have the same 40,000 BTUs, just a smaller cooking surface. So they are a very powerful unit. And our gas hot plates, here we have that design, 26,000 BTUs, good medium duty. But really for back of house use, we would go with our heavy duty back of house induction dial controls, just like a chef wants with gas. Works in the very same way. More sizzle, you turn up the power. Less sizzle, you turn down the power. So you're really sensing the sizzle on these units, not necessarily looking at the gas height, but more of what the pan is doing. Nice design. We make it a 4-hob unit, which is 24 inches wide. Working height. This is really what you want on under the hood versus our new 4 Series that we just talked about. It's not the right dimensions for under a hood. This fits and actually replaces that unit directly if you look at it that way. So
hey, Chef, I'll just pull it together here too on the countertop equipment, right? So the important thing to see about all the new pieces, we've all got the insourcing on them now, so they're made by our designs in our factories, and they've also got a consistent look that I think really elevates the appearance of them to the type of equipment that you might see in a kitchen as opposed to some of the equipment you might see in a food truck. I think we had a perception before that we weren't kitchen ready, but I think the new appearance with the new capabilities we've got really put us into being ready to be in those kitchens.